This is... Hello from Jonathan and me, and welcome to the programme.
Well, first tonight, there's less than 13 hours until polling stations open across the region. And tonight, the electioneering goes on.
Yes, the final opinion polls still can't agree on whether there's going to be a clear winner, so every single vote has become more important than ever.
Well, both nationally and here in the East, politicians are leaving nothing to chance, with all the major parties campaigning right to the wire. Well, our political correspondent, Matthew Hudson, joins us now. So, Matt, it looks like it's going to be a close one.
The famous Corpus Christi clock counting down the minutes until the polls open tomorrow morning. If you go out into your street now and shout, "I'm still a floating voter," you risk being trampled in a stampede of candidates, all desperate to hoover up as many votes as possible. And why not? This election is going to be the closest in living memory, perhaps longer. Even those of us who've been eating, drinking and sleeping it for the last month, we really don't know for sure how this one is going to play out.
It's the one thing all the parties agree on. Lots of us haven't made up our minds yet. And with polling just hours away, it's the don't know yets who will ultimately decide it.
I'm still undecided, I'm afraid. Yeah, I'm right betwixt and between. I'm sort of going to leave it right up until the last minute, have probably a little bit of research overnight, and then see where we are come the morning, I guess.
I made a decision today, so it was about a last-minute thing to do. So, yeah, I've done that. I've just put the postal vote in and see how we go from there.
I'm afraid, to be honest, I'm a non-voter. It's all a little bit confusing on who to go for and what to do. There's bits on all of them that are good.
For the hundreds of candidates in this region's 69 constituencies, today was the final chance to reach those key still floating voters.
I'm asking you to vote Conservative, because only by voting Conservative tomorrow can you get a new government on Friday that will clean up the mess Labour has got us into. And make it a contract as well. You give us your vote and we will get Britain working. We'll back the NHS, we'll control immigration and so many of the things you're looking for.
I urge you to vote Labour on Thursday to protect our schools, our hospitals and our police. Massive Conservative cuts now would not only damage those services, it would pull us back into recession just as we're coming out of it. The Conservatives are a risk we simply can't afford.
Across the east of England, we need more than just Tory MPs and failed Labour people. Be positive. There's a lot of good Liberal Democrat candidates out there. Go out there and vote Liberal Democrat.
Candidates from the smaller parties hope to pick up support from voters disillusioned with the big three.
The Green Party would bring a truly fresh voice to politics, an agenda fit for the future that we face, a complicated future where we have to deal with social, environmental and economic problems together. Only the Green Party is talking about that in a way which is credible, backed by electoral reform and steps towards a fairer society.
Britain is on the verge of losing its independence to a corrupt and democratic European Union. For those people who believe in their country's independence, voting for the Independence Party is not just the most honourable thing to do. It's not only just the best thing to do. Frankly, it's the only thing to do.
The reason people must vote independence, we need to challenge the monopoly of the three main political parties, because they're out of order and they're out of control.
The polls still say we're heading towards a hung parliament. It could well be so close we may not know the full result until well into Friday. Key seats in our region, like Milton Keynes North and South and Waveney, probably won't declare until nearly breakfast time. Saffron Walden, Broadland, Huntingdon, Norwich North and Buckingham won't even start counting until Friday morning. Don't even mention recounts. Even the bookies say the result rests on a knife edge.
It's the tightest election we've had for a long time. And although we think it's going to be a Tory victory, we're not sure that it's going to be a Tory majority. So it's the hung parliament is the big bet, the no overall majority. That's where the money's going, the smart money.
If it is a hung parliament, every vote could be important in deciding who will lead any coalition. A novelty for those living in safe seats, but then this whole campaign has hardly been run-of-the-mill. Matthew Hudson, Anglia News, Cambridge.
You can say that again, Matt. So 4 long weeks of campaigning effectively over. But where does it leave us just 12 and a half hours before polling stations open?
Well, our election editor David Hughes joins us now. So, David, what do we know now about how our region might vote that we didn't know a month ago?
Well, it would seem not very much. We went into this election campaign not knowing who would win, and if you believe the polls, we end it not really knowing who's going to win, very much in hung parliament territory. Of course, in this region, in the Anglia region, the Conservatives have won every single election since the 1950s. So it's a question of who comes second and third. Will the Lib Dem surge still be there? Will Labour be forced into third place as they were in 1983 and 1987? What about the other parties? UKIP and the Greens are targeting seats here. And then, of course, there's all the independents, a record number of them. Will their voice be heard at all?
And, of course, it's not just number 10 which is the prize here. It's the town hall as well, isn't it?
That's right. There's been elections to MPs, but what's been overshadowed is 400 councillors are also being elected in town hall elections. Not just the MPs, 400-odd councillors, 22 councils around the Anglia region, electing 1/3 of their councillors. Now, most of those councils are already Conservative controlled, places like Basildon, Brentwood and Castle Point in South Essex. There's also Great Yarmouth, Harlow's on the list. Actually, only a slender Tory majority in Harlow. More Conservative councils facing elections tomorrow are places like North Hertfordshire, Peterborough, more about Peterborough in just a second, and Rochford. The Tory majority in South Cambs may be vulnerable to a Lib Dem surge. We'll have to wait and see. The Lib Dems, well, they have 2 councils of their own in our region, Cambridge and St Albans. There are 4 hung councils where no party has an overall majority. There they are on the screen. And Stevenage is the only Labour council in this region. They're facing local elections tomorrow. One thing is certain, turnout for all of these local elections will be higher than normal because the general election is happening at the same time. And tactical voting, now that's been talked about in this election, that's going to be quite different. People might vote one way for their local council and another way for their MP. This time on Friday we'll know the answer to that question, if they did that or not.
Now, David, tonight we are hearing reports, though, of a police investigation into fraudulent voting in the region.
That's right. So we've got reports in that a 39-year-old man linked to the Conservative Party has been arrested in Peterborough in connection with an inquiry into postal voting fraud. That involves the council elections. Of course, postal voting has been on the increase over the past few years, and as such, there have been worries about fraudulent use of these postal votes, so much so that they brought in extra security measures in 2006. You have to have a signature compared, and you also have to give your date of birth. And the Electoral Commission say that out of the millions and millions of votes, just a few cases of electoral fraud happen, so they say their controls are working.
Brilliant. It's going to be an interesting election to
looking
watch.
forward to it?
Absolutely.
How excited are you?
Can't wait.
We can tell you can't
Absolutely.
wait. Thanks, David.
Thanks, David.